Now, unless you guys can't tell, I fucking love this show. But I have to get something off my chest right at the beginning of this video. Just get it out of the way, okay? They seriously need to stop doing the exact same plot every season. Now, what am I talking about? That whole bullshit about the big bad of the season, the main villain, being a speedster and his identity being a mystery throughout the season, and then him turning out to be one of the people within Flash's group. Okay? Now, everything else about the plot was great. All the variations that they've done every season, you know, from you know, the first season, which was the origin season, the second season, which was the alternate worlds season, and now this one, which is the alternate timeline season. All that stuff is great, really well written, really cool stuff, and in all three occasions, I feel like the mystery was handled really, really well, but the fact that they've done the same thing 3 times really bothers me, because all this creativity placed around the same thing over and over again, it feels cheap, okay? These writers are amazing, and I know they can do better. So there you go. That's my big, like, disappointment this season. Other than that, I really enjoyed it. I love this show, and I have very few negative things to say about it. With that said, like I said, this was the year of the annoying characters in the DCW shows. In Legends of Tomorrow, I had Nate Haywood, who bothered me at first, but I got used to him. And Supergirl, you had Mon-El, who got on my ever-loving nerves. And in this show, H.R. Wells. Oh my god, what an annoying motherfucker. I just kept having to remind myself that I love Tom Cavanaugh. I love him, he's such a talented guy, and it's so cool that he's still on the show. However, what an annoying fucking douchey-ass character, and that was completely worthless all the way until the end. So even though he was worthless, again, to compliment the writers, at least the character had a purpose. So on the subject of characters that annoy the crap out of me, first 2 seasons, as you guys know, I've voiced my displeasure with the character of Iris West. She's starting to grow on me. Very slowly, but she's starting to grow on me, and I feel like this was the season where they used her character the best as the focal point of this plot line. The Barry's main motivation, where I was fully on the same page with him. I understood what he was going through, like why he was putting every effort forward to save her life, okay? So, again, good job on that. Still not super crazy about the character, but I'm starting to warm up to her. Now, as per usual, I like to keep my thoughts on the Flash seasons very brief, because one day I intended to do an honest review on this show. And every year I share what my favorite things about the season were, so let's go through that. Favorite character, still solid tie between Cisco and Barry. Julian, the new addition to the cast, played by Tom Felton from the Harry Potter franchise. He was just regular, didn't love him, didn't hate him, he was regular. Very much like Iris, Wally West is starting to, I'm starting to warm up to him. I'm having Amy Pond experience with him. For those of you who don't know, when I was watching Doctor Who, I didn't really like Amy Pond right away. She kind of just wasn't crazy about her. But as the show progressed, as those 3 seasons with the Matt Smith Doctor progressed, you know, I started to warm up to her to the point that by the time she left, I really liked her, and I was so sad to see her go. So I have a feeling that I'm going to have the same experience with Wally West, that if he ever leaves, if they ever kill off his character, that I would be very upset by that point. But again, I've slowly warmed up to her. New character that I absolutely love, Gypsy. Freaking awesome. It's so good to have another Hispanic superhero in these shows, let alone one that is so freaking cool. Would definitely love to see more of Gypsy in the future. Favorite villains, still Reverse Flash and Captain Cold. I love that they were both included throughout these seasons of the DCW shows because I love them both. They're two of my absolute favorite. So happy that they introduced Mirror Master. He's one of my all-time villains. They gave him a slightly different spin, a different take on the character on the show. Don't mind it at all, and I kind of like the idea of a villain who is mirror-themed for him to be vain. You know, be all about his looks and the way he dresses. And the guy was looking pretty damn sharp, so I totally get it. So, yeah, not the way I would have imagined them adapting the character to the show, but so happy the character's in the show and not upset at all with their take on the character. The villain that I feel they completely misused and just wasted was the Shade. It's one of the best villains in the DC universe, one of the best D-list level villains, let's call him that, and I feel like they introduced him as just a gimmick for an episode, just another bad guy, villain of the week for Barry to beat, and the focus was on other things, and I wish there would have been more focus on the character and a more interesting take on the character, very much like Mirror Master, but there really wasn't. However, this is rare that they do this. Usually they service the villains so well on these shows that it's incredibly rare that one falls through the cracks. And quite frankly, it would have been worse if that would have happened to somebody like Captain Cold or Reverse Flash, or one of those big or the Trickster. That would have been another big no-no if that would have happened to that villain. So I'm happy that, that didn't happen to those villains, but it sucks that it happened to the Shade, that they gave him what I like to call the Count Vertigo treatment. Like what they just completely wasted Count Vertigo on Arrow. And I thought they were going to redeem themselves by casting Peter Stormare as the new Count Vertigo, and that also didn't go very far. But anyway, moving on. Favorite episode? Not Duet. Oh my god, with every day that passed after I did a video on that episode, the more I hate that episode. Oh my god. And it's that coupled with the fact that I don't like musicals, and then the fact that it wasn't a very good musical, and that is the one Flash episode that I'm telling you right now I will never watch again. For as long as I can help it. I will never watch it again. Really didn't like it. However, my favorite episode, or should I say episodes this season, was the openers. Flashpoint and Paradox. Those two were, thus far, the greatest openers they've done so far. Really, really good. I love that Barry abused his powers and created this alternate timeline. It was so interesting when they opened the season and introduced us to new versions of the characters, and then the fact that he had to sacrifice his mom to fix everything. What a great opener. Awesome. Which of course leads me to talk about the arc of the season, which was very similar to the arc in Arrow. I love this. This was brilliant, and I love that the two shows ran parallel with a similar plot line, but not the same. Like they've been doing every, with the villain in every season for the last 3 seasons of Flash. But I like the concept, the story of the heroes paying for the mistakes they've made, okay? For Arrow, killing all those bad guys in the first season or so, and Flash abusing his powers. He has godlike powers. We have to place limitations on him. This is one of the first things that I said when I first talked about this show, was that they really needed to introduce Flash's weakness, which is that he has to eat a lot. He can't just run and run and run and run all the time. He has to, consume like crazy, like 500, like thousands of calories every day to maintain his speed. And they instantly introduced that in the second episode, but there needed to be more because he kept getting more and more powerful, and here you go. This episode was all about the repercussions of him abusing his powers and then him paying for that, and it was handled so well. So as far as I'm concerned, this so far is the best season they've produced as far as telling a really good, compelling story. The first 2 seasons I feel like were filled with more interesting sci-fi concepts and worked outside the box. I feel that this season they kind of found their comfort zone and stuck with it. But again, that's not a huge criticism though. Like I said, I really enjoyed the season, and I feel it's the best written season thus far, in spite of using the exact same story as far as the bad guy, the mystery of the bad guy. So even though the mystery was handled well as far as who Savitar was, I did see it coming. The one thing that I did not see coming was that HR was the one that sacrificed himself in the place of Iris. I knew somebody was going to sacrifice himself, on behalf of Iris. I knew Iris wasn't going to be killed. I knew that. That wasn't going to happen. That was a huge misdirection. But I, honest to God, hand on the Bible, believed that it was going to be Joe. I've been saying this since the first season. Oh my God, Joe's gonna die. Oh my God, Joe's gonna die. But I'm glad that they haven't killed him off. I'm glad that they haven't fallen into that recurring trope of all the superhero shows and movies where the mentor dies. So I'm happy that Jesse L. Martin's still in the show. But the moment that he started, getting close to his girlfriend and, acting, delivering all these epic speeches, I started to feel like, okay, this is a misdirection. It's not going to be Joe. And then right around the time that I'm like, maybe it's HR, it turned out to be HR. So I was very, very close to figuring out before it happened, but, then it happened. But I knew who Savitar was right away for most of the season. They kept giving it away over and over again in the dialogue. The other thing that I knew was going to happen was that Barry and all the other speedsters were going to team up to fight him. I wish the fight would have been longer, though, especially since it was a season finale. If that fight would have been so short in the middle of the season, totally would have understood. But this is the finale, and that speedster fight was way too short. Also, was really puzzled as to why Jessie Quick was not part of that fight. They worked so hard to establish her as a speedster this season. Then they established that she definitely had beef with Savitar and wanted revenge. And they didn't use her in the finale. However, Gypsy was there, and I love Gypsy, so I was happy she was included. So hopefully we'll eventually get a battle where all the speedsters will team up: Barry, Wally, Jay, and Jesse. But hopefully they'll save that for the 5th season in the 100th episode of The Flash. Flash 100. So the big reveal towards the end of the season was that either the big bad for next season. Oh, it's raining. I might get hit by lightning again. Anyway, the big reveal in the final episode this season was that either the big bad for next season or one of the bad guys that Barry's going to face next season is going to be the Bolt. The thing that's puzzling about that is that the Bolt is not a huge villain. Very much like the Shade, he's a D-list level villain. Kind of like Mysterio for Spider-Man. He's not one of the big ones. So I'm curious if they do make him the big bad throughout the entire season, wondering if they're going to upgrade him and make him a little better. Or if they're just going to keep him like a D-list silly villain, but still have him be the main villain all the way through, or if he's just going to be the villain in one episode. We're going to see. We're going to find out. But the good news is that the Bolt is not a speedster. So at least if he's the big bad next season, I highly endorse that decision to not have the main villain of the season be a freaking speedster. Okay, it doesn't have to be a speedster all the time, and it also diminishes the value and the novelty of bringing Reverse Flash back to the show. And yes, I totally feel like they could completely bring Reverse Flash back. At the end of Legends of Tomorrow, he created all those duplicates of himself. I have a strong feeling that at least one survived that. And we will see Eobard Thawne again. It is completely foolish of them to completely get rid of that character, and also Matt Lesher as a talent, because he is phenomenal. I love that bad guy. And, well, we'll definitely see him in the final season, because we know Flash and Reverse Flash clash. Didn't mean to make that rhyme. During that final battle, according to that newspaper they keep showing us. So there you go. Looking forward to that. So another great season of Flash is in the can. Cannot wait for season 4. I hope the quality continues on this show. all the way to episode 100 and beyond. So those are my thoughts on Flash Season 3. Feel free to voice your opinion in the comments section below. As per usual, respect each other's opinions. Do not fight. We're all on the same team here. Next week, my series of E-Rants closes with Arrow Season 5.